Did you know that a single family photo can spark memory, improve cognition, and even help reconnect loved ones who are experiencing Alzheimer's or dementia? Today, we are going to explore simple, research backed ways your photos can boost brain health and strengthen connection for yourself, your family, and future generations. Welcome to the Photo Manager's YouTube Live. I'm Bruce Holroyd, and I'm grateful you're here for this important and meaningful conversation. Whether you're organizing your own family collection, caring for aging parents, or helping clients preserve their memories, today's session will give you practical and heartfelt ideas for using photos to enhance well-being. I've spent nearly 4 decades in the imaging world, including 33 years at Eastman Kodak and Kodak Alaris, which included 10 years managing Kodak's worldwide photo scanning products. But this topic isn't just professional for me, it's personal. Photo-based remnants therapy played an enormous role in supporting my father, my mother-in-law, and my uncle through their journey through Alzheimer's. And through my 25 plus years volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association, I've seen how powerful and healing photos can be. That's why I'm especially glad to guide this session today. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe so you don't miss future sessions on preserving, organizing, and enjoying your family photos. Today, I'm joined by someone who has dedicated his career to helping people connect with their memories, Rick Voight, CEO of Vivid-Pix. Rick has led groundbreaking work in the Photo Reminiscence Therapy, helping individuals, families, caregivers, and memory care organizations use photos to connect cognitive health and meaningful conversation. He's here today to share research-backed strategies and simple activities you can start using right away to bring memories to life. Before we begin, I'd love to hear from you in the chat. What's one photo that instantly brings back a vivid memory for you? Your answers help shape today's conversation. With that, let's dive in. Rick, thanks for being here today. The floor is yours.
Hey, Bruce, thanks so much for having me on. And it's fun for all of you in the online watching this presentation. Bruce and I actually have known each other for many of those 40 years. I do have 40 years in the photo industry. On July 8th of this year, 2025, I celebrated 40 years. And it's been an interesting ride. Having started out with Kodak many, many years ago, haven't been with them for over 20, and then HP. And then with Vivid-Pix, we founded that over 13 years ago. And I'm going to go through a presentation in order to be able to connect you to your photos, how we're able to connect others with their photos through the photo reminiscence process, as well as to create connection. So sharing my screen. Please confirm that I am sharing my screen. Bruce, are you able to confirm?
The screen is good.
Sounds good. So the brain tree, which we call it over here on the left, I spent a lot of time in the genealogy family history space, and everybody had a tree. So I figured, well, what do? Well, we work with the brain, and we work in genealogy, and that's the tree base. So we created Braintree. And Vivid-Pix invents and harnesses technology, making it simple for individuals, families, and organizations to relive memories. And our motto, "Don't let your memories fade," is intended to be a double innuendo because it describes the importance of photos and activities that nurture brain health, improve cognition, assist family historians and caregivers, and create connections. So we integrate our primary research in photoreminiscence therapy, as well as our family history activities to create products and services for simple operation, to have fun, and to age well. So if you had asked me 13 years ago, that we would literally be doing primary research with universities on photo reminiscence therapy, I would have had no idea why you would think that's what we'd be doing, because we started off 13 years ago in a very different place.
Bummer.
So a little bit different. So what happened is Kodak and the distributor for the Kodak scanners were able to break apart the software that came with those Kodak scanners, the distributor was, and asked if we might want to use the knowledge that we had of improving underwater photos to improve old photos. And that was our second product, second patent of Restore. So Restore fixes old photos, old documents, and it works on just about anything to make them look great. So as we launched Restore, we ended up meeting some really nice people in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Anyone who knows Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana, they house the largest genealogy center in a public library, have become super good friends and provide us great feedback by their patrons, their customers, as well as themselves. And then through the journey, we noticed that May is National Photo Month and also Mental Health Awareness Month. So we did a little bit of research and we ended up meeting some really nice people in Louisville, Kentucky. And you'll see a video of Sherry here in a couple of minutes. And we installed at this place called the Thrive Center. And the Thrive Center is currently now sits on what was the Bellarmine University campus. And my pavilion at the new Thrive Center is literally across the hall from NIH and NIA, the National Institutes of Health and NIA. So we created this really cool place, but gosh, this thing called COVID happened. And we ended up meeting some more people. And through all of this process, we did primary research in what's called reminiscence therapy. And NIH describes that as reminiscence therapy involves the discussion of past activities, events, and experiences with another person or group of people, usually with the aid of a tangible prompt such as a photograph, household and other familiar items from the past, music, and archived sound recordings. So I expected that we'd be able to find great research utilizing photographs and be able to improve the work that we do in the photo industry, the memories industry, but photos. We didn't. So we ended up then doing primary research
for a loved one to make, and whether it be for a spouse or whether it be for a child, that you're able to spend time with your loved one again. And I've done this with my mom as an example. And all of a sudden those sparks do start going off and I'm able to reconnect her to her thoughts, but me to my thoughts by having this conversation and allowing the love to come out.
It's almost like a triangle, like as you speak, I see it forming, is that you both focus on that picture and it connects you, but then by the end you're having conversation which redirects you between the two people. And it's almost like that memory gets relived and it's you and that person, but you're using that modality of a photo to reconnect and bring that person back to life so you can relive those moments, even just socially, where you get a piece of your mom back for that.
Yes.
Don't let your memories fade has many implications, and Vivid-Pix implies many types of memories. Naturally, we think about our photographic memories. We take pictures to capture times in our life. These pictures provide our minds a prompt to recall the moment, how we felt, the people we were with, where we were, all sorts of things. Due to heat, humidity, and light, photo memories can fade. And unfortunately, memories fade due to the passage of time and cognitive decline. And photos can help affected individuals recall times, connect individuals. And as I like describing, she remembers 50 years ago better than 50 seconds ago. Photos prompt remembering. Photo memories can be saved and stored in many ways, as a single print, photo book, and in various electronic forms. Cognitive memories tend to be stored in our brains, unless we tell our stories in some way via writing, voice recording, and video recording. Sometimes we're lucky enough or have the forethought to combine photo and cognitive memories. So most of us have photos and memories handed down to us about ourselves and those that came before us. So what does that mean? So I grew up, I had these old pictures of myself, like the ones you just saw, our holiday cards, and those were handed down to me. And then through our lives, we've created our own photos and stories that we've collected and wish to share with our kids and future generations. So my daughter growing up, on the screen here in the middle and the bottom on the left is Megumi, my daughter, kissing Mickey Mouse's nose. And that's a priceless photo memory. And we've got tons of stuff. So most want to reminisce and preserve legacy. They wish to share their and others' stories in a simple way. They wish to do that independently as a hobby and or with a bit of assistance at home or in a trusted environment. And now we're starting at that point, this point in the presentation, to say, if I'm an older adult, I've collected all these lifetimes of memories, how can I do it? And could I be doing it with loved ones who have cognitive decline? And the answer is yes. You could do it at home by yourself. You can do it with home care. And the way I describe that is, would you prefer your loved one to be interacting with someone playing with their phone with Lawrence Welk in the background on TV? Or would you prefer them to be interacting with your loved one, recalling the memories, recalling the stories? That's what I would prefer, and do prefer my loved ones to be spending their time with home care. That can also take place in a shared use environment. This happens on the right-hand side to be in a library setting, happens to be Allen County Public Library. So we did a lot of research in order to make the workflow simple. So many are technology nascent, resistant to technology, and we make everything with very simple, intuitive workflow to scan and or import from computer and or import from external drive, and then big buttons to be able to restore, record, and create stories through our technology. So what's fun as I've been on this journey is there are people that I've known, but I didn't know their past because I knew them in their current life. And this happens to be Bernice Bennett, who I know in the genealogy world, but boy, she is a wealth of knowledge.
I think that you can help the aging community by providing them opportunity to share stories. And my own work at one point in my life was through the Dallas Area Agency on Aging. They had a program called, it was Access Services for the Elderly. Now, with that, we had many people that were vulnerable, shut-ins, maybe had family, but family didn't know how to provide the support they needed. a group of individuals and organizations came together to talk about case management and coordinating services. That was pretty much the key. How do you coordinate services for a vulnerable population that may not know how to access the services in the community? With that came social workers and individuals that could really talk to people and have them share stories about their family members. Reminiscent therapy is what we refer to it. And I'm telling you, this wasn't yesterday. This was many, many years ago. It just brought back everything to me and all the memories that I experienced in being the director of patient services discharge planning, because we would bring in a coordinated body of people that would determine, well, where should this person go? How can we work with the family? How could we encourage the family to talk and be a part of that person's life? Even if there was some mental decline, we still had an opportunity to provide them with the support with dignity and respect, which is what is important when you talk about dealing with people that are aging. And I'm one of those people, you know.
So it's wonderful when something is as simple as a photo is as powerful as it is to invoke the memories, the stories, and create the connections. So what is photo reminiscence therapy and what might a session look like? And I'm going to let the person that I do research with and market products with, Dr. Josh Freitas, explain that.
At this point, you might be asking, what does a session look like? So we're going to break down a few examples of what sessions could look like. The first one I'm going to do is a caregiver. This might be a caregiver for an older adult that needs some help just around the house or for care. Is a caregiver coming in and looking at the photos in a house. They sit down, they know how to look at that photo and foster a conversation or quilt that conversation and all the fabrics that go along with that one photo. What this does is it allows for connection. So as that person goes through, they start talking more and more about photos. She shares her story as well. You have that two-way street we've talked about. That caregiver actually utilizes different photos and creates a prescription in her mind. It's not formulated, but it's one that she's circulating in her mind. Throughout that process, as she's cleaning the house, she starts to find more and more photos in a shoebox in the closet. She starts pulling those out, putting them on a table. Then slowly they go into a scrapbook. Each step of the way that she is getting this person that maybe doesn't get to socialize that often, sharing their story. By the end of that, this person is now excited for when they come in, when they're going to talk about their next session. That resident she's taking care of picks up the phone and calls a daughter and says, I just had a caregiver revisit this. I totally forgot about camping, and we used to have so much fun. You camp now, don't you? So it creates all these ripple effects. That's just one scenario. It could also be that a son or daughter is having difficulty connecting with a loved one with maybe dementia. So this might be that they come in, they have difficulty communicating because of aphasia or speech challenges, but they show a photo and that resident's eyes light up. When they connect to that photo, slowly they see that memories start pouring back. As they go through this, the family actually brings more and more photos. Each time that they come in, that resident starts speaking more, bringing conversations together, getting excited in the community where he lives, going and telling people about the stories or his family, or he has a copy of a photo he brings to lunch. Now he's socializing where maybe he didn't socialize before. Or even more so is that the psyche of somebody with dementia is changing. Maybe they don't have as many barriers, and maybe you'll get a story you've never heard before. Maybe you heard something that they struggled with, or maybe something that they've always wanted to do but didn't want to share with you because they didn't want you to feel bad that they wanted to go skydiving but couldn't afford it when you were younger, or so on and so forth. But there's a lot of rich stories that might come out from just showing a photo. So we can see the profound impact. One other one could be a teacher. Working with a child that struggles and gets mad in class and is frustrated, but has a photo on their backpack of their favorite superhero. Doesn't have to be associated with something. And then before you know it, you start talking about that superhero, and you found out for Halloween he dressed in that superhero costume. Throughout those conversations, you notice that he feels insecure, and when he's dressed like a superhero, he can do anything. So one day he actually gets to dress up in that superhero costume, and you get him to do something he's never done before, building self-confidence, changing his perception, and also getting him to connect to other kids confidently. You could actually change that just based on a photo. So the way that photo reminiscence therapy is getting people to see that photo, share a story, but then having an objective that's beyond that photo. So in those 4 examples that we shared, is what we noticed is that there's connection. And the importance throughout this training is that it's not just one session, but it's how do we keep building off of each session. There might be a session that is identical to a session before, that's okay. But the goal is always to move that session forward and have outcomes. Get people to share their story, to share why that is important to them. Another example could be based off of a recent study. In this study, they showed that if a caregiver sat down with somebody that wouldn't take their medicine and showed a few photos and connected socially with that person, leading with a social connection, is that they're about 50% more likely to take their medication. This could avoid people having to go to the hospital, change their setting, be disrupted throughout their day. So the power of a photo can be more than just connecting, but also have even a medical outcome or a health outcome that can be beneficial. So the goal should always be to focus beyond the photo. How do we use a photo to have an outcome beyond that photo? Now you might be asking, it's time to do my session. How do I do this? Where do I start? It doesn't take a lot of energy to start. You don't have to be overwhelmed. Just find a photo. Start talking with people. So find somebody that you want to do your session with. Find at least a photo or two. Ask people for questions. Have them give you a photo. And then just jump in. The best way to do this is not to overthink it, to have it be normal, and just know that a photo can speak 1,000 words. So just start with 1 or 2 words and see where it goes. Allow that session to go wherever you want it to go.
They just taught us there is that PRT, utilizing a photo to create connection, can certainly be, as Bruce introduced, for those with dementia, Alzheimer's being a type of dementia. It can also be to connect in general with someone, to enjoy times together. And this happened to be a couple of years ago, it'll come out in the video, where I was seeing a change in my mom's ability to communicate. And I also wanted to capture the knowledge before it faded away.
So, Mom, we've got an old photo album here, and I would love to have you explain to me and other lucky viewers to explain to me what's inside of here, some of the people, and all that fun stuff. So what are we looking at?
We're looking at 2 Jocelyn girls. We're looking at Lois and Beverly.
Wow, cool.
And Lois is 5 years older than Beverly. And this is in the buggy. And this is on the farm. Esmond.
Wow.
This is on Grandma's porch. This is Beverly and Byron. And this is Lois and Beverly and Byron on the porch.
Wow. Okay, so I hope you don't mind me aging you here. Can I age you here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you are 87 years old?
Yes, I'm 87.
So this is 2018, and you look like you're probably pretty young in that picture.
I think so. Maybe a year old.
Maybe a year old?
That just says.
Scribble. Cool, okay.
Uh-huh.
So my story is around this time, Mom was traveling from Rochester, New York down to Florida, and her meds went out of whack. And we started to hear the same question over and over again. And for any of you who have been through the dementia process. That's pretty common. And the person becomes confused. And we ended up getting her meds in line, and we had a very nice, still have very nice, mom's 94. I was just with her a couple of weeks ago. But able to spend time together, to reconnect, to enjoy our times together, and to learn the things that I've always wanted to learn, but hadn't had the time. Pretty important. So at this point, I'm going to pause, because I'm going to start transitioning to the power of photos for connection and for remembrance, and less from photo reminiscence therapy. So does anyone have any questions for me right now?
There's a question. Yeah, the question is I've noticed some of the restore pit photos online have dust, etc. Will the software resolve this?
No. So what Restore does, it's our second patent, second product, adjusts color, contrast, lightness, sharpness, and white balance all at once. We do not do cloning in order to do that. So short answer being no, we do not remove dust.
Okay. Will it automatically remove the dreaded green scan lines?
The dreaded green scan lines. Help me understand what that means.
I'm not sure what they mean by that. That's all that came through. If Lillian could expand on that question, hopefully we can get you a better answer.
So if it's streaking, and that's one of the problems that can occur with sheet feds, especially if the rollers aren't kept clean, if the image is being scratched in the scan, then that's actually damaging the image.
And also the glass over the cameras, if they get covered with dust, that would cause some streaks within the scanned image also.
Totally. So if you want to fine tune that question, I'd love to answer it.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yeah, she just added, when the scanner has dust and makes green lines during the scanning process.
Yeah,
Yep.
we do not adjust. We don't clone. We don't do things like that. Restore, since the question specifically came up, Restore is $50 software. You're able to install it on 2 computers. It runs on Windows and Mac computers. You get free updates. It has sold tens of thousands of copies around the globe. It's installed in over 1,000 libraries. It's pretty wonderful software. We choose not to be a Photoshop. We choose not to employ things like digital ice, which was a technology that some of the old scanners used, that would automatically take care of some of those spots.
Okay. We've got one more question from Jody that says, let's say we go in and do an educational session at a senior center. Are we able to then promote and direct people to the certification program to become trained to provide this as a service?
Absolutely. So we're quite proud. We're quite proud of a couple of things that have occurred. So Dr. Josh Freitas, when we did the primary research, was a PhD candidate. He is now full PhD doctor. And through our process, working with NIDE, National Institute for Dementia Education, and Certis Institute, which is now 4 senior care locations, memory care locations down in Orlando, we actually now can offer 1.5 CEUs for both nurses and dementia caregivers. And so if you have gone through the classes, you're interacting, we're working with libraries and any number of types of locations, and from a business perspective, you wish to direct them to our certification process, yes, they can get certified. In addition to that, we launched the beginning of April. After somebody completes one of our courses, we have a 12-week reinforcement program. So every Sunday, somebody gets, this is what you're going to do this week, as far as reminiscence therapy with someone. And then on Friday, creating an evaluation. How was it and the like? Sunday, knew this is what you're going to do this week. Friday, evaluation. So we do that for 12 weeks. We actually reinforce reminiscence therapy principles so that the person gets trained further than simply taking a course.
Great. Thank you for your questions.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to transition here towards what is the power of using these images to create connection and create brain health. So last video I showed us was me and my mom reliving a memory. I got lucky. I wish I had more memories with her. I have no memories recorded like that with my dad who passed. And I'm not alone.
There's so many products that are out there on the market. Vivid-Pix. We talked about that one because I can't tell you how many people come into the Thrive Center and say, I never captured those stories of my dad or my grandfather, and I wish I had done that. And I didn't either. And when my mom passed, I opened up the cedar chest and I pulled out my dad's little shirt. I'm like, oh my gosh, he was tiny when he joined the Marines at 16 to fight in World War II. And he weighed 114 pounds. And so I found his shirt, I found his Marine ID. And these are the stories that we let slip away. And we lose our heritage when we do that.
We're really proud on May 22nd of 2025, we held a symposium. We're proud, Vivid-Pix, that we are the first of two for-profit companies, partners of the national. We're the first of two for-profit partners of the National Genealogical Society, formed in 1904. We also are working closely with Family Search, who's larger than Ancestry. And what we did was we're in the process of aligning the aging and aging well community with the family history community. And we've got wonderful content underneath our education tab on our website. What does the headline say? It reduces isolation and loneliness. So Surgeon General has reported 2 years ago that we have a loneliness epidemic in the United States, and the rest of the world does as well. And a lot of it has to do with the amount of time that we spend looking at screens and, of course, the COVID experience. So if we're able to create an activity that is able to be shared with others, we are able to reduce isolation and loneliness. And through that activity, we exercise the brain. So on the left-hand side, what you're seeing, reliving those memories creates neurogenesis in the brain. So that activity of reliving the moment fires off across the synapses, utilizes the hippocampus in order to be able to relive the memory throughout our brain. And we actually physically relive the emotion as well. As we learn new things, we actually are exercising the brain, which is neuroplasticity. As someone, all of us after age 30s, our brain does start slowing down. So if we can do more activities to exercise our brain more than Wordle, that's a great thing. We've created our interface that's designed for older adults, easy to use, and it does scan photos, documents, memorabilia to create movies. But then the result of doing these activities, it increases connection, it increases social engagement, it improves mood and emotional expression. And those meaningful moments of connection connects our loved ones and our caregivers, like I was describing in the home care example, where if somebody has cognitive decline, spending time with another person has positive effect. So the power of photos in senior care is it's a connection tool. It's a memory stimulus. It creates emotional support, and it's an identity reinforcement. Who am I? So photos aren't just decorations. They're also therapeutic tools. So those examples of how do we create story and assist those who are aging, there are benefits beyond that, because the stories that were important to us at a time we were making decisions could be important to others in the future, like this.
People often ask why my daughter is named Seneca. Now that you're old enough to answer that question for yourself, Seneca Jane Morton, I made this story for you. 3 years before you were born, I visited Seneca Falls, New York, widely accepted as a birthplace of the women's rights movement in the United States. With my mom and our friend Nancy and your 2-year-old brother, I toured the Women's Rights National Historic Park. I learned about some of the women who led the early charge for women's equality, including Mary Baker Eddy of the Christian Science faith, which supported women's rights consistent with its belief in female spiritual power, and which faith also appears on the maternal side of our family tree. The wall where the Declaration of Sentiments is carved recounts injustices toward women. I felt anger and sadness, but I also felt strong and emboldened at these women standing up for themselves and for us. I will never forget that moment. Later, when we heard the exciting news that we were expecting a daughter, and almost immediately learned that you had spina bifida and that your life would have a lot of physical challenges. Your dad and I started thinking about what to name you. I wanted a name that would draw on a legacy of womanly power. In our family, we already have a matrilineal name, Jane. It's my middle name and that of my mother and her aunt, whose sister was a Christian Science practitioner, and so forth, back to, what do you know, 2 women named Seneca Jane. Could there be a stronger, more beautiful name for you? Seneca after Seneca Falls, and Jane after the women in our family, and Seneca Jane after 2 of our female forebears. The combination of names is handed down, but it is now uniquely yours, Seneca Jane Morton, to give your own stories and strength. Love, Mom.
So I'm sure all of us can relate to that. I wish I could hear my father tell me my story of how I got Irwin with an E as my middle name. These are important stories that need to be captured. It creates connection. It creates a better social environment. So let me share with what we created with the National Genealogical Society and is being utilized in senior care as well as in societies, libraries, archives, and museums.
There are over 100 million Americans, 12.5 million Canadians, and 1.2 billion globally over the age of 55. We wish to share our stories, to share other people's stories with children of all ages and future generations.
I'm Ken Larson. I'm from Sequim, Washington. Genealogy is finding names, dates, and places. You've got family history, which is learning about the people.
Introducing the Family Matters Community Outreach Toolkit, a partnership of the National Genealogical Society and Vivid-Pix.
Vivid-Pix and the National Genealogical Society developed a turnkey program to help organizations bring the public in the door. Through this partnership, organizations can access equipment, classes, and interactive programs that connect people with their family history and organizations with new audiences.
Vivid-Pix is all about making it simple to relive your memories. This includes scanning or downloading photos and documents to create your family history, fast, easy, and affordable software to improve these images, and various education to help people do more.
The whole education arm of Vivid-Pix is so important, telling people about story, I've been a strong advocate my entire career about the power of story. That's why people engage in genealogy. That's why people join societies, attend webinars, show up at conferences. They're excited, they're engaged about finding their family's stories. The power of story. It changes lives. We know that. That's why we do this. And Vivid-Pix has been a wonderful partner to help people find their stories and appreciate the power of story. Then in addition to really strong, really solid education, we're so pleased to be partnering with Vivid-Pix on the memory care aspect. And if you think about it, there's kind of two ways of interpreting memory care. One, we know our photographs contain many of our family's memories. Vivid-Pix is helping us care for those memories. Second, we know how important it is to take care of our family members, our friends, our loved ones who are on the dementia spectrum. And Vivid-Pix, through their work with the National Institute for Dementia Studies, has found and has identified and articulated best what we kind of thought or believed all along, that taking pictures, marrying really good metadata to those pictures, or taking pictures to our loved ones and recalling stories and events related to the picture we're showing helps people.
We installed the memory station in June of 2022, and I can tell you some of the things we've gotten done, because it's been great. We've scanned over 2,000 CGS photos and almost 3 gigabytes of CGS historical documents. It's also been very popular with our members, having scanned countless photos and historical documents themselves for their own family history work.
Staffing within senior living is at a 20% under, we have 20% less people to work in senior living than is currently needed. So if an individual is able to provide programming that is of interest to those organizations, again, great way to be able to provide care, interest, potentially additional business beyond putting on the event that you could be putting on with those living locations. So I'm going to skip ahead here just in the interest of time to 2 slides. First off is we have such a need in senior living. We must find ways to provide better care and attract people to want to work in senior living. This is one way.
How do you think we can help excite the caregiver to say, this is why I want to work with older adults? I'm able to have an impact on these older adults by bringing forth these stories. How can we excite the caregiver?
Yeah, I think it's also allowing them to have the opportunity to share their story. It's always a two-way street in every conversation in most cases. So making sure that that caregiver has an opportunity to share a little bit of their life through their story with that senior. Now, it's not just all them, but that opens the door. Once you create relationship, it's very easy to grow that relationship. But what I see that often happens is we create a divide. Worker and resident. So then automatically that's what it is. But at the end of the day, when we take that apart, it's two humans that can have a conversation. And I think relatability is really important. So oftentimes you'll see that we do life bios for seniors so that we know who we're caring for. So what they like, what they don't. Why aren't we doing that same thing for the caregiver? So that that resident can actually read it and learn about their caregiver. What do they like to do? Obviously, there's some touchy subjects that you might not want to include, but really things like, do they have kids? Do they, do they play baseball in high school? I think that could open the conversation for nostalgia for both of them to share, but also creates human connection. So that's why I feel like we create a lot of divides by saying you're worker and you're resident, and we lose that human connection. But I guarantee you, you care for your parent so well. So creating that relationship for a caregiver to feel like they're caring for their mom and dad is going to just improve care. So you want to create that relationship and focus on that primarily.
And we need to figure this out. So currently it's expensive to have home care, to have independent living care, to have assisted living and memory care, even more so. And it is absolutely exploding in cost. And unfortunately, my cursor doesn't want to let me show you, but you can see on the far right-hand side, this hockey stick of cost. If we don't figure out ways to have connection in non-pharmacological ways and to keep people in their homes longer through programs like PRT, our costs, so at the bottom is home with care, then home with PRT care, different home with PRT and adapting the home, independent living, and then it goes into assisted memory care. It's going to be really expensive and none of us are going to be able to afford it. And societally, we're not going to be able to afford it. So using the power of a photo, using reminiscence therapy, we can create multi-generational social benefits, healthcare savings, and reminiscing connections. So I like saying aging well in family history equals dollars and cents. So last slide is...
So the memories path.
Last slide is we've got lots of stuff available up on our website. I'm going to stop at that point so we have time for a couple more questions.
Let's see. We don't have any questions at this point, Rick.
Good. Hopefully I answered a couple. So hopefully this is stimulating. Again, I'm trying to be cognizant of the time. We Vivid-Pix, we are bringing solutions to market in order to be able to educate people, in order to be able to provide PRT and the like, in order to be able to provide better care to our loved ones, as well as to senior living locations themselves to provide care for their residents. From a business perspective, it is my sincere pleasure to spend the time with the photo managers. You guys are business people. You're striving to find ways to make impactful, different. You've chosen this career, this powerful thing called a photograph, and we are a unique way for you to be able to drum up business and to do your business.
Great. Thank you, Rick. That was incredibly powerful. We're going to take some live questions now. So if you have any something you'd like to ask about your photos, memory support, or any of the tools Rick has mentioned, please go ahead and add your question to the chat at this time. We'll give it about 15, 20, 30 seconds here. We're getting a lot of thank yous for the great information that you've shared with us, Rick.
Wonderful. Thank
Great
you. It's my pleasure.
stories. They find it very fascinating. New way of dealing with photos.
Cool. Then obviously the photo managers know how to get a hold of me. Feel free to reach out any way that you would like. Our website, Vivid-Pix, Pix.com. Lots of stuff up there, lots of free education, as well as we sell a few things.
Great. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. This session reminds us that our photos aren't just images. They're bridges to our memories, our identities, and the people we love. If you found today helpful, please click subscribe so you don't miss our next live event, plus more tips on organizing and preserving your photos. Rick, again, thank you for sharing your research and your heart. And to all those watching, keep your memories safe, keep them alive, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Merry holidays.